Nigeria, the Benue state government are introducing drone surveillance services to monitor security and humanitarian conditions across communities and internally displaced persons and camps in the state. Now, the executive secretary of the Benue State Emergency Management Agency says the drones will capture real-time emergency response images and videos across affected communities, including activities within all IDP camps. Well, let's deepen this discussion on this topic with Benue State stakeholder Professor Eugene Aliegba, discussing the adoption of drones and other technologies that are being used to combat insecurity and emergencies. Thank you for joining us this afternoon here on Newsday.
Thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here.
So, in your opinion, what were some of the key motivations behind Benue State's government's decision to introduce these drone surveillance services? We do know that Benue State, for the last few weeks and months, have been, experiencing a spate of tragedies. How will these drones align with the broader goals of the state in order for better security and emergency management?
Yeah, thank you. I was here in the studio about 3 weeks back or so, basically also on this issue of security. And I was very definite on the fact that so much was happening in the state in terms of trying to address this security problem. I also highlighted the fact that the security themselves were making a lot of efforts and that we should not, to a large extent, hype so much on when they fell or their limitations. At the same time, I also elaborated on the fact that the state government was doing so much. This government, which some of us have studied so well, is not so much into propaganda of not saying so much of even what it's doing. We had government in the states that propagates much of what they were not even into doing, apart from the fact that it was giving them publicity and political advantage. And so this government has done so much. Between that time, I left the studio here and now, it is quite clear that so much has improved in the security situation. Most local governments that were hit by this menace, and most farmers could not access their farming communities, have at least can access those places, and farming activities have intensified, quite different from the situation that was about 3 or 2 months back or so. And I think also to give credit that the issue you have mentioned here, this issue of drone technology, have helped enough. It has given the commanding officers on the ground the opportunity to be able to identify where these armed attackers are and where they group, and it has given them the opportunity to know that these drones have a very, very strong capacity of flying between 4 to 7 hours, and also can cover a radius of 150 kilometers. They also have the capacity to give the ground troops the opportunity to monitor the movements of wherever they go. Where the drones are, pick signals and pick pictures, the commanding officers on the ground also have access to see. So it has improved a lot in terms of the management of this the insecurity in the state.
That's good. And then we were wondering how the real-time emergency response images and the videos that will be captured by these drones, how they're going to be integrated into the state's existing security and emergency response protocols. Exactly who will be responsible for monitoring this data, and will it be shared with other agencies across the nation for their own surveillance and data gathering?
Yeah, if you are very conversant with the security situation of the state, there is a coordination of the security problem. First, the state government itself had its security architecture under a bureau. There's also the operation-wide stroke which is the national security architecture. And all these are working as a team. And therefore, there's nothing to say that this agency is working separate from this or this. The data is being collected within one unit, and in terms of security management, this also has very one coordination. At the local government levels where most of these operations take place, the local government chairman coordinates the security organizations that are sent on the ground, to do operations. So there's no problem about in terms of coordination, in terms of data management, or in terms of processing. The commanding structure is quite acceptable and agreeable by all the security organs that are working. And they are working in uniform, and they are working within the control of the commanding structure within the states, both the federal and the local security structure that is on the ground.
And can you, with what's going on in Benue State, of course it's quite saddening, and we know that it's also happening in other states as well. We have an insecurity crisis in the country. Do you think that these kinds of systems can be implemented in other places that are hotbeds for insecurity at the current time?
Quite obvious and definite. These drones have another level that CCTV cameras and radar stations have been mounted at the borders of the states, bordering Nasarawa, bordering Taraba, and the borders in the state that are bordering even Cameroon. And therefore, there is obvious the fact that the security are working in conjunction with the securities of others. For instance, the Operation White Straw covers the range within Benue and also some parts of Nasarawa State. Therefore, if this coordination, and I'm sure this cooperation is already there, and if it was not there, I don't think it would be working that properly. And that is what the call is always, that there should be a cooperation between the states and the neighboring states, so that the results, there will be success in this. So I believe that the state is doing this. It's also working in conjunction with the neighboring states, because the security at the borders must be secured properly, because these armed people come in outside the state and hit and go back. And therefore, that must be handled well and properly with the other neighboring state. And I believe that if other states also are key into this, and I believe by now there's so much that they are doing in order to join the Benue State government, so that a maximum success will be achieved in order to curtail this menace within the states and within the neighboring states too.
Fair enough. Thanks for that. Are there any protocols that you're aware of that are in place for the use of drones in active security operations? And how will the system ensure that drone-based intelligence is effectively used by the security agencies on the ground?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not in a position to go deep into strategic security details. Even most of these issues, in the first instance, most of us were not disposed that you discuss security matters outside like this. But it was becoming very clear, and the opposition against the state governor were using it, the silence so as to propagate political gains. And it became very obvious that we have to, those of us who feel that the side of the governor of the state and government of Benue State, we've seen that some of these things should be done. So I believe first and foremost, drone technology and some of these are already very advanced in the military efforts. And so the military, in the first place, have their own strategy in this. And it is effective. They've been using it, and it's the question that the Benue State now had also to launch its own version of, in trying to also to improve on what already exists. And so some of these issues are basically tactical, strategic security matters that you really not be said in public, but they will have to say them in order to give credence to the fact that so much is happening It's just that the state government is not out to make political gains out of the desperate security situation of the people, unlike others who felt that you have to take advantage of anything, including starvation also. That's why some of these issues can just put softly before the public, not just to put virtually every detailed security analysis in the public. Strategically is not proper and it's not good.
No, and we certainly wouldn't want that either. We just want the cliff notes of what will be done, just so that the audiences can rest assured that things are being done, but definitely no details. We don't want anyone eavesdropping and using it for their own wrong information. I want to talk about the IDP camps. The technology of these drones, how can it be used effectively to ensure better transparency and accountability in the management of IDP camps, especially concerning the distribution of relief materials and the identification of some of the needs of the IDPs?
What I know that of the governor of Benue State is that surely even before the issue of drones, and so definitely he would have had his own way of monitoring what happens in this camp in terms of humanitarian conditions, in terms of distribution of available resources, donations, and all that. And so this is just an advanced version of the. I am very confident and I'm very sure, because even when there were one or two issues that arose, it didn't take hours for them to be nipped in the bud. And so in most cases, you always have people in the society who are truant, who are disposed to irresponsible act or so. But I think in general, there has been the camps in Benue have thoroughly and properly managed to address some of these issues to the level that there is some meaningful comfort within the area. I must say so. Most of the time, some of these issues are more politically motivated, so as to continuously try to stir up the fact that the opposition will always want to get something to put the government on its toe, or to continue to make a radical analysis out of it. But I'm very sure, and I know, so the drone technology is just an addition to the other checks, and including monitors, other monitors that the governor has put in place to directly and personally ensure that what happens in this place happens properly and people are treated as human beings where they are and wherever they found themselves.
And what could be the long-term plans for the sustainability of this program? Any plans for local manufacturing?
Yeah, the governor
or
has,
yeah.
It's already, first and foremost, there is a long-term program of ultimately taking people back to their village, to their communities. That program is on, and communities where there is guarantee that they can go and be safe, that program is implemented. The government has also put in a farming program where the IDPs, especially the women, certain levels of farming activities have been done for them, including planting and then handing over certain levels of farm setups or settings for them, so that at the end of the day, what they enjoy is just to harvest and then own it. There's also, the government is also working in collaboration with the United Nations on a longer settlement program, where in those villages where people will now return to, housing programs already will be established, farming program will be outside. This has gone advanced state of implementation. So these are not just gimmicks or political theatrics, but the fact that it is real and advanced plans have gone. So there's ultimately the fact that by the time most of these IDPs go back to their communities, they are alive in terms of standard, in terms of standard of farming, in terms of standard of living, where they live, their access to facilities like health, and so will completely be different because of the long-term plan the government has in place.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. What a great conversation we've been able to have here. Professor Eugene Aliegba, a Benue State stakeholder. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsday.